Imagine a world where invisible, ancient, and powerful forces still shape the events that govern our lives. A dark legacy forged millennia ago continues to operate in the shadows, influencing cultures, decisions, and even the very essence of human spirituality. This is the mystery of the fallen angels, beings who defied the Creator and brought forbidden knowledge to Earth, forever altering the course of history. These beings didn't just teach forbidden arts like magic and metallurgy. They also fathered the Nephilim, giants who roamed the earth, spreading corruption, violence, and chaos. And while ancient texts speak of their fall and destruction, the real question remains: did they truly disappear? Or does their influence still linger in the modern world? The echoes of their rebellion can be found in myths across cultures, in occult practices that have survived through the centuries, and even in the power structures that govern the world today. Could it be that global elites carry the legacy of these angels? Is modern technology an extension of the forbidden knowledge they revealed? In this journey, we will delve deeply into ancient texts and modern conspiracies, connecting the dots between the past and the present. We will uncover how the fallen angels shaped humanity and continue to influence its trajectory. Prepare to discover a hidden world where the spiritual and material intertwine, and where decisions made millennia ago still resonate in our lives. The truth stands before us, but it is both terrifying and challenging. Are you ready to face the legacy of the fallen angels and understand how they still influence the world today? Then step forward, but be warned. The knowledge revealed here may forever change the way you see reality. In the distant echoes of eternity, a celestial rebellion shattered the harmony of the heavens. The fallen ones, angels ablaze with defiance, tore through the divine order, their once radiant forms now twisted with ambition and pride. They descended to earth, bringing with them a darkness that would stain creation forever. These were no ordinary beings. They were architects of corruption, sowers of chaos. Their arrival marked the beginning of an era where divine light clashed violently with the shadows they unleashed. Upon their descent, they did not come empty-handed. Their gifts were curses in disguise, knowledge forbidden to humankind. The secrets of war and sorcery, the mysteries of the stars, and the alchemy of metals, they unraveled these enigmas before mortal eyes. What seemed like blessings soon birthed greed, violence, and moral decay. Civilization grew under their influence, not toward enlightenment, but deeper into the abyss of corruption. And then there were the Nephilim, the giants born of forbidden unions between these celestial rebels and the daughters of men. Towering and mighty, these beings walked the earth as living reminders of divine defiance. They were warriors, rulers, and destroyers, their presence a mockery of God's order. Their insatiable hunger for power brought chaos and despair, their footprints marking paths of destruction wherever they roamed. But the heavens did not remain silent. The cries of a corrupted earth reached the Creator, and the decree was clear: justice would fall upon the fallen. Yet as waters of divine wrath cleansed the earth in a deluge, the legacy of these angels did not vanish. Their mark lingered, etched into the hearts of humanity, a reminder of the rebellion that forever changed the balance between heaven and earth. From the heavens, they descended with forbidden truths, bearing gifts wrapped in the veil of corruption. The fallen angels, once luminous beings of divine creation, brought to humanity the knowledge they were never meant to possess. It was a pact of treachery, sealed with rebellion and ambition, that unleashed untamed wisdom upon the unsuspecting world. They taught humanity the secrets of the cosmos, revealing the language of the stars and the patterns of celestial movements. They unlocked the mysteries of metals, forging weapons of war that would sow blood and discord. They unveiled the art of enchantments and spells, introducing humanity to powers that corrupted the soul. What they called enlightenment became humanity's chains, binding them to desires and chaos beyond comprehension. Under their guidance, mankind built cities that defied nature and temples to worship gods of their making. The lines between the sacred and the profane blurred, and societies crumbled under the weight of this unholy revelation. The very earth groaned under the strain of the violence and decadence these fallen beings encouraged. Their teachings came at a cost. The price of knowledge was innocence, and the price of power was peace. The humans who embraced these secrets became tools of the fallen ones, wielding their newfound abilities to dominate, destroy, and descend further into depravity. But the heavens did not turn a blind eye. The whispers of corruption reached the ears of the divine, and a great reckoning loomed on the horizon. The fallen angels' gifts, once celebrated as progress, revealed their true nature, a curse that would bring humanity to the brink of annihilation. Yet, even as the storm of judgment approached, the forbidden knowledge had already taken root, forever altering the destiny of mankind. The earth trembled beneath the weight of its corruption. Humanity, intoxicated by the forbidden gifts of the fallen, plunged into darkness. The Nephilim, born of the unholy union between celestial rebels and mortal women, roamed the land as giants of unimaginable power and insatiable hunger. Their steps shook the ground, their cries filled the skies, and their deeds desecrated creation itself. These beings, towering above men, ruled with an iron fist. They were warriors, tyrants, and gods in the eyes of the trembling masses. Yet their reign was marked not by justice, but by violence. They consumed the land's bounty, leaving famine in their wake, and spilled blood in rivers, staining the earth with their defiance of divine order. Humanity became their plaything, a broken reflection of what it was meant to be. The Creator, grieved by the depth of this corruption, looked upon the earth and saw ruin. The harmony of creation had been shattered, and the cries of the innocent reached the heavens. A divine decree was issued. The floodwaters of judgment would cleanse the land of its iniquity. As the skies darkened and the first drops fell, humanity realized too late the weight of its choices. The Nephilim, mighty and invincible, found themselves powerless against the wrath of the Creator. The waters rose, consuming cities, forests, and mountains alike. The earth groaned as the flood wiped away the remnants of a broken world. But even as their bodies were destroyed, the spirits of the Nephilim remained, a shadow of their former selves, bound to wander the earth as restless entities. The judgment of the flood was final, yet the echoes of their presence endured, haunting the hearts of humanity and shaping the spiritual battles of ages to come. The floodwaters receded, and the earth emerged anew, cleansed of the Nephilim and the corruption they had wrought. Yet the story of the fallen angels did not end with their destruction. The echoes of their rebellion reverberated through time, embedding themselves in the myths, legends, and fears of humanity. Their spirits, bound to the shadows, became whispers in the dark, haunting the remnants of a world that had been forever changed. These disembodied entities, remnants of a defiled past, were known as the spirits of the Nephilim. They roamed the earth, seeking to corrupt the living, stirring chaos and spreading fear. They were the invisible architects of despair, influencing kings, priests, and commoners alike. Though unseen, their presence was undeniable, a lingering darkness that humanity could never fully escape. From the ruins of the flood, humanity rebuilt, but the seeds of the fallen angels' teachings remained buried in the soil. Forbidden knowledge, thought lost, began to resurface. Sorcery, alchemy, and the worship of false gods found their way back into the hearts of men. The influence of the fallen persisted, subtly guiding humanity toward the same paths of destruction that had led to the flood. Prophets and sages rose to warn of their danger, urging humanity to resist the pull of these ancient forces. But the allure of power was too strong, and many fell into the trap set by these lingering spirits. The battle between light and darkness intensified, with humanity caught in the crossfire. The fallen angels' rebellion, though crushed, had left an indelible mark. Their spirits, banished but unyielding, continued their insidious work. The flood had cleansed the earth, but the war for humanity's soul had only just begun. A conflict that would stretch into the ages, shaping the destiny of nations and individuals alike. As humanity rebuilt, the fallen angels' influence seeped into every corner of the new world, hidden in plain sight. Their teachings, once thought obliterated by the flood, were rediscovered and embraced by those who sought power beyond mortal means. Secret societies and cults emerged, shrouded in mystery, preserving the forbidden knowledge that had nearly destroyed the world. Through these clandestine groups, the influence of the fallen angels found fertile ground. Hidden rites and ceremonies called upon their spirits, seeking wisdom, power, and dominion. Temples to false gods were erected once more, and the worship of the fallen angels was disguised under layers of cultural tradition and mysticism. Their names, whispered in shadows, became symbols of forbidden enlightenment. But this was not just a spiritual matter. It became a battle for the control of nations. Leaders, drawn by the promises of the fallen, began to wield their teachings to conquer lands and manipulate their people. Wars were fought, not for survival or justice, but for domination and greed, fueled by the whispers of the ancient rebellion. The divine, however, was not silent. Prophets and warriors were raised to stand against this tide of corruption. They exposed the schemes of the fallen and warned of the destruction that awaited those who followed their path. Yet for every victory of the righteous, the fallen found new ways to infiltrate, corrupt, and influence. Even as the forces of light worked to cleanse the world, the fallen angels' legacy grew more insidious. They no longer appeared as giants or wielders of visible power. They worked in the shadows, embedding themselves in human systems and thought. Their rebellion had evolved, becoming a silent war, a battle fought not just in the physical realm, but in the hearts and minds of humanity. The influence of the fallen angels reached into realms unseen, embedding itself in the very fabric of human civilization. What began as whispers in the shadows now transformed into ideologies and systems designed to shape the destiny of nations. The ancient knowledge they had delivered, art, science, and mysticism, became tools of control and deception, repurposed to guide humanity further from the divine truth. In the courts of kings and the chambers of philosophers, their legacy grew. Power structures arose that mirrored the rebellion of their celestial fathers, systems of oppression and dominance that enslaved the masses while enriching the few. Behind these machinations were unseen forces, weaving threads of corruption into the hearts of rulers and their empires. The fallen spirits, though bound to the earth, found willing vessels in humanity. Through manipulation and possession, they exerted their influence, driving leaders to wage wars and sow discord. Economies were built on greed, justice was perverted, and humanity's moral compass was shattered. The rebellion that began in heaven was now fought in the souls of individuals, with the fallen angels as puppet masters. Even religion was not spared. False doctrines emerged, twisting the truths of the Creator into lies that led many astray. Rituals honoring the fallen were disguised as sacred rites, drawing the faithful into spiritual bondage. Ancient symbols of rebellion were incorporated into the architecture and practices of worship, hiding the influence of the fallen in plain sight. But not all were blind to their schemes. Those with discernment saw the hand of the fallen in the chaos and rose to oppose them. They warned of the deception, calling humanity to return to the Creator's path. Yet their voices were drowned in the cacophony of progress, prosperity, and power, the alluring facade behind which the fallen continued their insidious work. As centuries passed, the spiritual war between light and darkness intensified, with the legacy of the fallen angels becoming even more ingrained in the human experience. The battle was no longer fought in visible, grandiose battles. It had become a covert war fought in the minds and hearts of men. The influence of the fallen continued to pervade every facet of society, subtly bending humanity toward destruction. In secret corners of the world, occult knowledge flourished. Hidden texts, once banned and destroyed, were resurrected by secret societies that understood the true power of the fallen angels' teachings. These societies, built on ancient wisdom, grew into powerful cabals that influenced politics, finance, and religion. Behind closed doors, they orchestrated the destinies of nations, pulling strings to shape the world in their image. Through these hidden networks, the fallen continued their work, sowing division, greed, and despair. They whispered in the ears of leaders, offering them power in exchange for their souls. Nations fell into corruption and violence, torn apart by wars that seemed endless, fueled not by necessity, but by the insatiable hunger for control. The world seemed to be on the brink of self-destruction, a slow unraveling of civilization. And yet, the fallen were patient. They did not need to act with haste, for they knew that humanity's downfall would be gradual, imperceptible. They had already planted the seeds of doubt and division. They had already constructed the systems of control that would trap the soul and cloud the mind. Now, All they had to do was wait for humanity to succumb to their own greed, ambition, and desire for power. But as the darkness seemed all-encompassing, there were still those who resisted. A quiet but growing movement of individuals and groups began to recognize the pattern, the subtle manipulations, the whispered promises of the fallen. These individuals, armed with truth and faith, began to fight back against the silent forces that sought to enslave humanity. But the fallen angels were not easily defeated. They knew that the battle for the soul of mankind was far from over. As the world moved deeper into the modern age, the influence of the fallen angels became more sophisticated, merging seamlessly with the fabric of society. No longer confined to secret societies and occult groups, their whispers now resonated through the mainstream, shaped and disguised as ideologies, philosophies, and movements that appeared benign on the surface. These ideas, though, were rooted in the ancient rebellion of the fallen, subtly steering humanity toward destruction while masquerading as progress. The fallen angels, though spiritual in nature, had adapted, evolving their methods to infiltrate the new systems of power. With the rise of technology, the digital age, and global interconnectedness, their influence stretched beyond borders, controlling minds in ways that had never been possible before. Social media, entertainment, and the ever-expanding digital realm became the new battlegrounds where the fallen waged war for humanity's soul. Through entertainment, they subtly reinforced narratives that glorified power at any cost, self-indulgence, and materialism. The idea of individualism was manipulated to promote a detachment from the Creator and a rejection of divine morality. In every corner of the world, people were consumed by the pursuit of wealth, fame, and power, values that aligned with the desires of the fallen, who reveled in humanity's pursuit of false idols. In politics, the fallen angels' influence was evident in the division of nations, the polarization of societies, and the manipulation of the masses. They whispered through the ears of leaders, pushing them toward decisions that served the interests of the powerful few at the expense of the many. Wars, both cold and hot, were fought not for survival, but for control. Control that the fallen angels craved. Yet, despite the pervasive darkness, the call for resistance grew stronger. More and more individuals began to awaken to the presence of the fallen's influence, seeking to break free from their grip. These seekers of truth began to reclaim the knowledge of the divine, reaching back to the ancient wisdom that had once defeated the powers of darkness. But the fallen angels, who had spent millennia perfecting their craft, were not easily overcome. The battle for humanity's soul, it seemed, would rage on into the future, its outcome still uncertain. As humanity entered the threshold of a new era, it seemed as though the battle against the fallen angels was being fought on multiple fronts: physical, mental, and spiritual. While some fought to expose the true nature of the powers shaping the world, others remained trapped in the lies perpetuated by the fallen. The whispers, though subtle, had become so deeply woven into the cultural, political, and spiritual fabric that recognizing them was now a monumental challenge. The fallen angels had carefully crafted a reality in which they remained both hidden and in plain sight. They had woven themselves into the highest echelons of power, influencing everything from government policies to corporate agendas, ensuring that the human race was continually distracted, divided, and enslaved by their own desires. In every corner of the world, the pursuit of material wealth, power, and fame kept humanity locked in a cycle of self-destruction. However, there were those who had begun to see through the veil, individuals and groups who knew that the battle was no longer just against physical oppression, but against a much darker force. These warriors, though scattered and few, began to rally together, searching for a way to expose the influence of the fallen and awaken humanity to its true purpose. They began to reclaim ancient knowledge, studying scriptures, prophecies, and lost texts that revealed the origin and purpose of the fallen angels. But as these seekers of truth grew in number, the fallen angels responded. They adapted to this new awakening by subtly twisting and co-opting the very knowledge that was meant to defeat them. The false teachings and deceptive philosophies that had been propagated for centuries began to infiltrate even the movements of resistance, sowing confusion and division among those who sought liberation. Despite the constant onslaught, the battle raged on. The fallen angels knew that time was running out. Humanity's awakening was inevitable. But they had learned how to manipulate the hearts and minds of men so thoroughly that even in the face of truth, many would still choose to follow the path of destruction. The question now was not if humanity would awaken, but whether it could overcome the deep-rooted influence of the fallen and reclaim its true destiny before it was too late. The clock was ticking, and the world stood at the precipice of a final confrontation. The forces of light and darkness, both aware of the impending culmination of this spiritual war, prepared for their ultimate battle. The fallen angels, having shaped the world's systems for millennia, knew they were running out of time. Their influence had never been stronger, yet they could feel the shift in the air. Humanity was awakening to the truth, and as more souls began to see through their deception, the stakes became higher than ever. In the cities, nations, and hidden realms, the signs of this awakening were undeniable. People who had once been blinded by materialism and the pursuit of worldly power began to question the structures around them. They sensed something more, something beyond the noise of daily life and the distractions they had been fed. Their hearts stirred with the desire for truth, freedom, and connection to something greater than themselves. Yet the fallen were not idle. They responded to this awakening with even greater force, working to solidify their grip on the human race. They manipulated emotions, created divisions, and amplified fears. They knew that the awakening of humanity meant the collapse of their reign, so they fought with everything they had left, ensuring that the veil remained in place for as long as possible. But there were those, the warriors of light, who refused to succumb to the darkness. They had come to understand the true nature of the battle, one not just of flesh and blood, but of mind and spirit. Armed with ancient wisdom and divine truth, they fought back, determined to shatter the illusions that had kept humanity trapped. But as they faced the overwhelming power of the fallen angels, they knew this would be the final conflict, the one that would determine whether humanity would break free from the darkness or remain forever enslaved. The final battle loomed closer, and the world was caught in a tense standstill. Humanity, divided as ever, faced its last test. The fallen angels, ever subtle in their ways, had twisted the very fabric of reality so that it seemed almost impossible to discern truth from lies. Yet, for the first time in centuries, a collective awakening had begun to form, a movement that sought to break free from the chains of deception. The fallen angels, knowing their time was short, worked tirelessly to preserve their influence. They continued to spread division, fear, and confusion, using the very tools of society, media, politics, and culture as their weapons. But the awakening had already begun to gain momentum. Truth seekers, those who had once been blind, were now rallying together in an effort to expose the hidden forces behind the world's suffering. These individuals, armed with knowledge, faith, and unshakable determination, began to rise above the noise, pushing through the veil that the fallen angels had meticulously crafted. In this critical moment, the lines between the spiritual and physical realms blurred. The fallen angels, sensing their imminent defeat, began to manifest more openly, using their ancient power to create chaos and destruction. They sought to disrupt the awakening, to silence the voices that were proclaiming truth, and to bind humanity to their will once more. Cities erupted into chaos as political leaders and influential figures became more desperate, driven by the need to hold on to power. Yet, the warriors of light continued to push forward, guided by a force greater than themselves. They knew that the final confrontation was not only inevitable but necessary. The fallen angels, in their pride and arrogance, had underestimated humanity's resilience. Now, in the final moments, the battle for the soul of the world would unfold, one that would determine if humanity would rise to reclaim its divine destiny or fall forever under the shadow of the fallen.